Well, welcome back. I'm Keith Reynolds of Morning Coffee. You're here, or I'm here with my co-host, Charlene Chamberlain. And, our next part of Morning Coffee is, we've bought, Valentine's week, and Valentine's Day is almost it's a day away. So, look, all you Valentine's folks out there, wine is essential to Valentine's and pretty much every day. I think, everybody has a glass of wine when they go home, or most people do. So we've bought Dave from Auburn Road Vineyards
Yep.
on. Dave, welcome back. And I know Dave's been kind of a trooper here, sitting through the dog portion.
I know, the astrologer.
Astrology.
Well, she had a lot to say about you.
Yeah, I think she nailed you right on.
Yeah.
So, Dave, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Sure. Thanks for having me, first of all.
You're welcome.
Keith and Charlene. We have a unique story, and I'm pleased to share it with you. And I'm going to speak in plurality.
Sure.
We have 6 members of Auburn Road Vineyards, or 3 couples. And our origin goes back to the finance business on Market Street in Philadelphia, where we all met.
Wow.
What's unique about
That's
Auburn Road
interesting.
Vineyards is that we had no prior experience or background in anything that I'm going to talk about here in terms of farming or making wine. We were lawyers and accountants by trade. And I like to quote movies, so I don't know if you guys like movies.
Yes,
I'm a movie
he's
fan.
a movie
Okay,
guy.
great. So I want you to first imagine Office Space.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite comedies. And
Great,
I think that
great movie.
typifies myself for a moment. I'll speak about myself.
And what
And I was
character are you?
Peter. I think we were all
Okay.
Peter in terms of sitting in the cubicle, wondering, they send around those retirement packages
Yeah.
when you're in your 20s, and most times you just toss those in your briefcase. But I pulled mine out one day and started looking at it and started doing the math about how much longer I was going to be there
Have to
until I
work.
started to draw on my 401k. And I was like, wow. Myself, I was a classic late bloomer. I never put a whole lot of thought into anything beyond, where the weekend party activities were going to be. And it kind of hit me at that finance firm that it's a long life, and you should find what you love to do. And I was not doing what I love to do. It was the office space, and corporate America, kind of provided some of those layers of displeasure that made it easier to find our current journey in terms of the TPS reports and the cubicle.
Been there,
lifestyle.
Dave.
Yep.
That's why I'm sitting next to you, Dave.
Right.
Hey, corporate America.
Right. So the lifestyle choice that we made was a unique one, and our story was actually, it began at a party in the main line, where friends of ours that had a new baby. And I don't know if you've been to these new baby parties when you get together with friends and there's usually alcohol around, which is a
Yeah.
good thing. But me and myself and Scott, my partner, who was my boss, my
Scott
first
Danini,
boss,
right?
Scott Danini,
Right.
my first boss out of college, were kind of hiding in the kitchen, trying to stay
away from it.
away from the baby, which is where the boys were hanging out. And
Right.
Scott is the guy who's passionate about wine. And
Yes.
he's really the
He
reason we're
is.
doing wine is because every social gathering we ever came to, he came with one of those little 6-pack carriers
His own.
full of wine. Yeah, and he and his father were passionate about wine, bought wine for investment, and I was a beer drinker. I grew up in PA, I went to Penn State, and
Nice.
my first education was in Rob's kitchen, where we did a wine tasting, and hopefully we'll do a little wine tasting here for you today,
Sure.
where we were trying to avoid, the baby
Right.
and hanging out, and he opened the 6-pack, and lo and behold, by the end of that day, we had dreamt up most of what is today Auburn Road Vineyards in South Jersey.
Wow.
And the idea to seek a passionate lifestyle and do something different with our lives was born in that kitchen.
Now, you're based out of South Jersey?
We're in Salem County.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
near Woodstown,
Very
New
cool,
Jersey.
very cool, yeah.
Or Cowtown Rodeo.
Cowtown
Right.
Rodeo, that's
Yeah.
what I was
A
going
lot
to
of
say. Yeah,
people know
okay, cool,
Cowtown
cool,
as a landmark.
cool.
And we
So, did you have property in New Jersey?
I actually moved to Swedesboro
Okay.
when I got my second job was JP Morgan Chase, and I was married and lived in Collingswood with my wife Shannon, who's one of our partners. And to split the commute up, we moved down to South Jersey.
So you could be in between.
Scott and Julianne lived in a Trinity off South Street in Philadelphia.
Oh.
Yep.
And his wife, who's now our winemaker, was a litigator, and they met at law school. Scott was a corporate attorney at a finance firm that
Amazing.
we worked at.
Now, I got to ask you a question. You're in Salem County.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're growing the
Grapes.
grapes.
Yep.
Okay, now, there is, what I'm told is, there is a part of the earth, there's a strip, or you know where I'm going with
Yeah,
this? A
sure.
strip going around the earth that wine grapes are grown
Soil.
better in this
The
certain
soil.
soil. And we have a strip of it in New Jersey.
We do. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wine regions are latitudes of the globe.
Latitudes. That's
Right.
okay. That's what
You hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
You're right there.
I felt like I was back in history, but
They're very temperamental plants, and they
Mhm.
only grow in a very thin latitude in the northern and southern hemispheres.
True.
So wine regions like France and Italy
Mhm.
and South Jersey and California to Oregon and
Niagara.
Washington are those mid-latitudes of the globe where grapes grow well, and in the South America and Australia as well. So they're very unique places where the soil conditions are unique, the growing season has to be of sufficient length, it can't be too hot. So you go down to Florida, you're not going to see wineries growing old world grape styles like we do. It's too warm. You know, you have passion fruits down there.
Mhm.
You go up into Canada, it becomes too cold.
Mhm.
So that you're talking about thin strips. Typically, you want to be around a body of water too. That helps
Yes.
moderate the temperature. So here we have the Delaware Bay and the Atlantic Ocean, California, the Pacific.
Mhm.
In the classic wine regions of the world, they have the Mediterranean. That
Right.
helps moderate those winter temperatures because, again, they're not cold sensitive plants, generally speaking.
So what are they doing like right now in this sub-degree temperature?
They're hanging out in a dormant mode.
They're hanging out.
Last winter was a little scary for South Jersey. People who live around here know it was
Yeah.
Yes.
a 50-year winter.
Yeah.
And
it was
some
cold.
some of the vineyards did have some losses where the 0 degrees Fahrenheit is the kind of low line for sustainable wine
So
grapes.
now, there's no fruit on the grapevines
vines.
right now.
Mhm.
Does it look kind of like, because I have a fig plant.
Yeah, they're
that-
like a fig tree.
They're like a fig tree, so
Like a
like
stick.
my fig
Yeah.
tree is just like
A woody
hanging out
plant.
there.
Yeah, hanging out
and
in the
then,
dormant.
Mhm.
like, you know, when it starts to get a little bit warmer, everything starts to gain
Leaves.
green, and boom.
Like the rest of us, looking forward to spring.
Cold. Yeah,
Get a little
I'm
bit of
looking.
warmth going, and,
Today.
and they'll start to, the buds will start to swell, and around April they'll start their growth cycle.
And the
Cool.
growth cycle is how long?
It's
Different
for
varieties
this
of
region.
grapes, or-
Yeah, I mean they started a little bit different times. We have early ripeners and late ripeners, but the general is April through October in this area of the world.
So then
Okay.
harvesting time.
Harvest
would
is in
be-
September and October,
Okay.
which is my favorite time of the year.
So now, when we say grapes, are we talking grapes that my kids love? Or are we talking a special grape?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. So
Okay.
if you grew up in this, there are native grapes to
Okay.
North America,
Mhm.
and there's I don't have any of the wines here, but we do 2 grapes. One a Niagara, which is a
Okay.
native North American grape, which makes a sweet white wine, and then a Concord for a sweet red wine.
Mhm.
Those would be the
The green ones?
native. Yep, the
The
green.
greens,
the
okay,
native.
okay.
And then there's the old world grapes, the Merlots, the Cabernets, the Chardonnays.
Mhm.
And those originated in Southern Europe. And
Okay.
those are brought here. And that's where the climate match becomes really important because those are very finicky and they need that balance to
Now-
grow properly. So we
now-
do both.
Now, the next question. Now, okay, so they've learned to grow grapes without the seeds, seedless grapes. Does your industry still, like, do they keep, is it good to have the seed inside it?
Wine
Or-
grapes have seeds.
Your grapes
Okay,
have
so they're
seeds,
not-
so they're meant to, you know, you really don't want to mess with them too much.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah. They're not like your table grape.
okay.
So they're a completely different species. They're small berry. They're thick skin, which helps give us color, and specifically red wine.
Mhm.
And they're seeded. They're fun to eat. I mean, me and
Right.
myself and my kids love to go out in the harvest time and pop them in our mouths. That's part of how we determine when we pick the grape is how sweet
Yeah,
they are.
taste
So back in the old days when they were squishing it with their feet,
Yeah.
you could get cut on a seed, huh?
Well, we do grape something competition down at the farm in the fall, and people do, get a little bit, you got some calluses on the bottom of your feet that'll help you
Right.
protect. But there's some seeds in there.
When you are harvesting, do you have harvesting equipment or are you doing it by hand?
We do everything in Auburn Road by hand.
Cool.
Wow, that's
so
great.
We are a boutique winery. We're focused on quality, and part of it is our background and the fact that it's good not to have any experience getting into it because you don't have any preconceived notions about what to
It
do.
should be this way or that
So
way.
for me, as the grape grower, it helped me learn to do things quote unquote the right way. Not that there is a right way, but the way we do it is kind of classic old style. We tend to the vines by hand. A gentle harvest, meaning by hand with pruners,
Mhm.
is a cleaner harvest, and
Right.
not that you can't mechanize, and you can, and there's some that do. But we just like to do it kind of the old-fashioned way.
Right.
And when we're crafting a unique, special product for our customer base that comes to South Jersey to taste the fruits of the terroir in South Jersey.
You know what, David, I can appreciate that. I got to be honest with you. In today's world, we see so many things. When I see big equipment, it usually means something that's not always going to be good for us. Like, look at all the canning folks and all the stuff and preservatives and stuff like that. I kind of like that people are starting to do that natural, the old-fashioned way, because I think half the illnesses out there in today's world are because of the foods
chemicals.
and the chemicals that we
And
use.
the byproducts.
The byproducts that we put into stuff.
Well, it certainly fits with our business model. I mean,
Yeah.
our business model and our place is and I give a lot of credit to my partner Scott, because he was the vision behind how we were going to sell our wine, and he's created the Enoteca, which is, and if you know the Italian word for wine bar is Enoteca. And if you come to the Enoteca in South Jersey, you're going to get an experience which is more of a European style experience. I think his vision was an intelligent one, because it kind of related well to our background. I think there's great things about this country, and there's great things about Americans in general, but I think we don't get it all right. I think Americans miss the boat a lot when it comes to relaxation, enjoying every day. We have to almost remind ourselves
That, oh my
that
gosh, I need to slow down.
that we have to slow down and enjoy, and that's what our place is about. Is that reminder when you
Right.
come and visit the Enoteca, you're going to get that reminder that life is about stopping and smelling the roses, stopping and enjoying a conversation with a friend, a special occasion, a Valentine's Day weekend here.
Well, you're so right about that. You know, I travel to Canada a lot, and I'm in the
Yep.
Niagara-on-the-Lake region, and whenever we have company come visit for the first time, as soon as they arrive, we don't even bring their bags in. We bring them out to the back patio, which is, you know, pretty with flowers and roses and everything, and they have a glass of wine.
Right.
We say, welcome to Canada.
Yeah,
You know?
and wine is a perfect introduction to those moments in
Yeah.
life, I think.
It's great.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the Enoteca, I know you have some great events that happen down
Yep.
there at the winery.
Yep.
On Thursday nights, you have an open mic night.
We do. We've had since last May. We've done a lot with arts in our 10 years in the business. We have a great open mic night on Thursday nights. Usually between 5 and 10 artists are coming out
Nice.
and joining us at the Enoteca. So if you know anybody that in the area that
Would
likes
like to play?
that likes to play,
Play or sing or...
it's a great
Yeah.
listening audience too. We have very receptive audience, people that it's a listening room mentality, and all are welcome. My 12-year-old has got up there with her legs.
This is inside or outside?
It's inside, but we have the opportunity during nice weather to do things outside. We have a wonderful pergola and patio area,
Okay.
and when the weather accommodates, we do move outside, move one of the speakers outside, because it's nice to hear the music cascading through the vineyard.
Absolutely, that must be awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. And then on Saturday nights, you also have live entertainment.
Saturday nights, yeah. One of the stories I like to tell is one of our first patrons was the guy that owned Woodstown Music Store.
Oh,
and,
sure.
And he was so
Yeah.
excited to see, what we had created out there. And he's first word out of his mouth is like, "You want to have music out here?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to sell this wine product." And
No, well, we have to give a shout out to one of your other partners for
Yeah.
music, and
Yeah,
that
Joe.
would be Joe Riley.
Yeah.
Hi, Joe.
yeah, hi Joe. And well, he built the stage in the corner, and he took off and took things off our hands, which was great, because it's a complex business that
Sure.
we endeavored into
Yep.
in terms of growing grapes and manufacturing, producing wine, and then selling wine.
And
It's like
serving.
3 businesses.
And food. And you
food.
have food as
yeah.
well.
It's like 3 to 4 businesses layered on top of each other. So having somebody like Larry come in and do the music scene, and he built it right away. And we've had live local music from 7 to 9 p.m. Since the beginning in 2007.
Nice.
So if
I
you're
think
looking-
it's a great date night.
Yeah, we have
Go down to the winery,
It'll be a busy
have
weekend.
some food, some wine, and listen to some local music.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good night
And then
out.
we do tastings and tours as well. Traditional. We do owner tours. I'm proud to say that when you come to Auburn Road, you're going to do a special tour, which is a fun education about us and our story, the vineyard, the winery, private tasting, and it's only given by one of the owners.
Well, that's
So it's a
very
personal
nice. It's very
experience.
special.
And it's a nice way for us to introduce our product to the customer.
Now, how long does, when you process that, get everything all done, how long does it take for wine to actually...
For a bottle.
Wow, so that I'll speak generally. Fruit wines and white wines are quicker to market. You're talking generally about 6 to maybe 11 months from raw fruit to finished bottle like we have here. Red wines are a little bit more patient of a product because of the barrel aging process. And in there, our Nouveau, our Good Karma, is the shortest, which would be right around 13 months, 12 months. And then its partner here, Classico, is 23 months in oak and then another 6 months in bottle. So you're talking, 1 to 3 years for red wine.
You have to be so patient, man.
Yeah.
You really do.
We
Think about that. Your mission when you started out, you
Yeah.
have to, because society is so
Now,
like,
we need it
now.
and you can get it
You have to
now.
be so patient. I've done that, man.
Well, the vineyards themselves take 3 years to get your first crop.
Established.
So
Mhm.
you talk about patient. You add the times that I just mentioned for winemaking
Yeah.
back to the vineyard production,
Right.
and you're 3 years to your first partial crop. So you're looking at 4 to 6 years lead time.
Before you
On
can
crop.
really be open for business.
So
Wow.
we had to be. Patience is the key.
Patience.
Did you all keep your
Wow.
regular jobs during that time while you worked
In the
on
beginning,
vineyard?
certainly we did. In fact, I was the last to leave J.P. Morgan in 2012.
Okay.
Scott worked at the Philex
Mhm.
after Fiserv, where we all met, and then the Philex got bought by the NASDAQ. So he made the first leap into doing it full time, and he's part of the leadership councils and
Mhm.
has done a lot. And I would be remiss if I don't mention what's going on in the region, because it's not just about Auburn Road, it's about the Outer Coastal Plain, which is that region that you mentioned,
Right.
where grapes grow well in New Jersey, where we collaborate, and the wine industry is really booming. New Jersey specifically, it's doubled in the 10 years we've been involved.
That's great. That's
And
wonderful.
larger wine regions are determined not by state boundaries, but by geography. Scott is working on what's called the Vintage Atlantic Wine Region, which is parts of southern Pennsylvania, southeastern Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Delaware, and South Jersey, and broadening the scope to attract more local wine consumers. And
Right.
I think we have a lot to offer. We live close to the megalopolis.
Mhm.
One
That's
of our
right,
greatest
you do.
opportunities is the amount of people that are local, and I think people in this day and age are going back to local products.
Yes.
And the interest in
Buy local, shop local.
buy local has been great for us, and we're really trying to promote that as a great wine region. We don't have the duration of Southern Europe
Yeah.
or even some of California, Oregon, but the long process is what it takes.
Yeah.
And
You had mentioned that one was soaked with wood or something.
that's new oak, yep. So
That's
that's
an
a
oak
new
cask.
American oak.
It's put into an oak barrel, right?
Yep, for aging purposes.
I never knew that until like 2 years ago. We did the Valley Forge food
Taste.
fest, the Taste,
Taste
and the
Expo.
bourbon guys were there.
Oh my
Yeah.
I
gosh.
never realized that's
What goes into the process?
what goes in
It's
the
pretty
process, and it's
amazing.
about wood.
Yeah.
And, I
And
was
different
shocked.
woods.
And then they saw these little barrels, again that quick,
Oh,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? But you can put cheap
Liquor
wine
into
or
it,
liquor into
and it
these
turned
barrels.
it into a
And
premium
in
liquor.
3 weeks, it turns it in. Now I gotta say, I don't drink hard liquor, but we put cheap vodka in there, and it did taste like whiskey. I don't know how. It
Really?
was the wood, but I gotta tell you, it did change it. But again, that quick fix.
Yeah.
You need time.
And we do a special barrel trail weekend in July, where if you're interested in learning more about wood and the aging process, we actually invite you into our barrel room, and the
Nice.
winemaker's going to be thieving.
Very
Tasting
nice.
wine out of the barrel is an experience.
When
that
is
I-
this?
Pretty cool.
It's in mid-July every year. It's called
I
Barrel
think
Trail
Mornign-
Weekend.
I think we
Morning
ought to
coffee
morning
needs to be
coffee.
there for
be
that.
there
Yeah, come
and,
on down.
Check that
and
out.
we
That'd be
can
fun.
we can taste the next vintage together, and that's the exciting
Cool.
part about the process is what's ahead.
Now is there anything that do you have some type of stock that you're waiting on that's 10, 20 years from now?
Well,
Oh, like a reserve,
That's-
like a private
Like,
reserve
well,
or
not a
something?
private reserve, but I mean, is there? I guess I look at before I even really was educated on wines, I always thought, oh, wines, they sit in these barrels for 30 years.
The age.
Is there? I mean, are you working on anything like that?
We are,
Okay.
but this
But
is
it's
where
hush-hush.
no, it's not hush
Oh,
hush. This
okay.
is we're very outgoing at Auburn.
Okay.
It's about
Does that have
patience.
good karma?
And you mentioned the word patience is key. I think if the winemaker was sitting here, she would love to be doing exactly what you mentioned. But then there's the reality and the business side of what we do.
Mhm.
And wine can't sit in barrels for the duration that we always wanted. So we
Right.
had to be very patient. We had good problems where our wines were accepted and we
I
sold
love
out.
that. Good problems. I love that.
So we had to take away from the reserve stock to
Mhm.
to feed.
Right.
And we've slowly worked it in. I don't have our Eidolon, which is our 3-year blend here. So we now have a 36-month blend.
That's nice.
And
Okay.
we would
Great.
love to work on a Bordeaux style blend that could be up to 5 years in barrel. So that definitely is something that's in the
Okay.
works. But that is another layer of patience on top of the patient project.
You think about it, your kids will be grown up in
Yeah.
college and you're breaking open this first time.
Right.
This bottle of wine.
Yeah.
That is insane.
On that note, I think we need to try some of this
Yeah.
wonderful wine from Auburn Road.
I want to share. I know, Charlene, you've had some of our
I
wines
have.
before.
I have, and they're wonderful.
I do want to share Classico.
Okay, let's
because
try that
it
one.
is our newest release. It just came out in January. So this was something that was bottled last summer. It's 2012 vintage, so to give you an idea, when you see that on the bottle, that's the year that the grapes were grown in the field.
Okay.
So
I'm going to stand up. I'm giving my camera guy time to catch up to me.
And this is something
My
that
hand's
makes
probably
Auburn
cut
Road a
off.
little bit unique because it is primarily the Sangiovese grape that drives Classico. And Sangiovese is an Italian variety
Sangiovese.
that originated in Chianti, and that's the Sangiovese grape is the base for Chianti wines. And Italian wines have a little bit more no total acidity to them, and some people will say Italian wines have a little bit more of a bite. I personally really like that. But the Classico was back to the kitchen. That was the dream. That was one of the wines that Scott was sharing with us that day, and a Sangiovese Cabernet Merlot blend, classic 3 grapes that go into the making of our Classico. First grapes that we ever planted in our field, by the way. It's a little bit
Classico.
cold, but it is a
Cheers.
medium blend,
Chendon.
complex.
Cheers. Morning coffee and Valentine's week.
Okay.
It's a little dry,
That is
Yeah.
smooth.
Yeah.
but
See,
it's,
that's what
but it's
I
got
like.
some
You know,
sweetness
I'm
to
right
it.
here.
Yeah. Some fruit and oak is a complementary
and I taste the oak too.
Wow.
flavor of
That was
the wines.
good.
Very nice.
Yeah. And we need it to warm up a little bit.
That's true. It is cold. It's a little chilly in here.
You know what? I see people put ice in their wine, and I'm like,
Oh, I know.
You're gonna. I mean, it's taken away from the flavor. If
It
it's a dry
does.
wine,
it takes
You know.
away. See, I like the flavor. I like to get the flavor.
Mm-hmm.
That is wonderful.
I would encourage those people that put ice in their wine to drink a sweeter wine.
Sweeter wine because it waters it down.
Yeah.
Well, the sugar's going to help prop up the flavors too.
Right,
Sure.
and then it's just, I don't know, something about really cold wine, but that's really good.
So let's talk about the other bottles that we have here on the table.
Excuse me. Yeah,
Wow.
we've got on the dry side things. We have a wonderful Chardonnay, and I would say New Jersey is really much more like the Bordeaux wine region in France in terms
Okay.
of the similarities in climate. We're seeing a lot of successes in the types of grapes that grow well in France. And the Chardonnay here, we call the white bottle, is a tangy Chardonnay that is stainless steel primary ferment and then goes into French oak. So a nice creamy finish to the Chardonnay. We tried the Super Tuscan, the heavier oak complement to that complex blend. Good Karma
This is a great wine. I've had this.
is our nouveau. And this
Yeah.
is a Sangiovese Merlot blend. It's always been somewhere between a Beaujolais and a Pinot Noir, but it's a lighter
It's a
bodied
nice
red.
one.
Great hints of cherry, a little bit lighter oak. Great for all occasions. My summertime wine, I like a little bit lighter body. And then for the fruit and sweet wines, I mean, we have great fruits and vegetables in South Jersey. We try to
Absolutely.
highlight some of the best, and the ones that I brought to share with you today. Give peach a chance.
I've not seen that
Joe's
one.
label creation, by the way.
You did? Yes.
He's our label
He's
designer. Is a summertime wine. It's got a little bit of Cayuga grape in it.
Give peach a
Cayuga.
Give
chance.
peach a chance. And then Kinda Blue, which is our
Kinda
dessert
Blue.
blueberry wine.
I haven't had that.
Made with Hamilton's finest. I would serve this with a little vanilla bean ice cream and maybe
Oh,
some
that sounds good.
fresh pecan pie.
Ooh.
Something that you would serve
Love
chilled.
pecan pie.
Nice, nice. I like this. You know why? Because people don't realize there's a lot of peach orchards in
Oh, yeah.
New Jersey, where I grew up in Edgewater
Sure.
Park. There's peach orchards.
We had them too in Cinnamon
You
City.
know, peach was big, really eaten a lot when I was growing up, and now these kids, I try to get my kids to
They
eat
won't
peach.
eat the
They,
peach.
you know, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. It's
Great
clever.
local fruit. Yeah.
And the label designs are fun too.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
gotta have personality in the wine
They
business.
do.
Now, 12% alcohol.
Yeah.
Is that normal for?
That's typical.
That's
yeah.
typical for a wine?
You want wines to be in the 12 to 13%.
Okay.
Okay.
Does that affect the taste at all?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
When wines start to get up
Affects
in the
the
15,
sweetness.
16%, you're going to get kind of an alcohol burn. So you
Yeah.
may start to get away from what your palate's used to when you're, say, consuming wines on a general basis. That's our wines are all in the 12 to 13% range.
Nice, very nice, very nice. Well, Dave, thank you so much for coming on
Thanks again
and
for having
sharing
me.
some of these wonderful wines. Why don't you tell the folks out there where they can find you guys on the web
Yeah.
and location?
www.auburnroadvineyards.com is our web address, and we are in Salem County, New Jersey, about a mile from Route 40 and Cowtown
Cowtown.
Rodeo.
Okay,
So if
easy
you're
to
familiar
find.
with
Okay,
the flea market or the rodeo, you can find us easily.
absolutely. All right, thank you so much.
Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
All right, this concludes our morning coffee for the week. We had a great week, right,
We
Char?
did. We absolutely did. We
High
had a
five.
great week.
We got a little drunk through the midweek with some
Beer
beer.
at 9
Now
in
we're
the
topping it
morning.
off with some wine. We had some great guests this week, and we're looking forward to having a big schedule for next week. So please tune in.
Well, I think on Monday we have Decotique, and she's going to talk about collectibles.
Cool.
And then one of our attorney friends will be on to talk about legal documents, things that you should all have in your home
Right. Okay.
as an
Very
adult.
good. So you know what? For you guys out there, have a great Valentine's weekend. Go down to the winery
Yes.
and
Wine and
have,
chocolate weekend.
Yeah,
That's
wine
right.
and chocolate
Special.
weekend. Oh, wine and chocolate.
Ooh,
Yeah.
the best.
You
Your
know,
sweetheart.
peas and carrots right there.
Yeah.
So have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.